Hello, welcome to this new video about Producer, and today we're going to have a look into pipelines. Pipelines are at the heart of Producer and what it can do for you. Your pipeline is always the backbone. It's what will help you see the progress of your different items. In this case, I'm in the episode 1, and I'm looking at the scenes, and all those scenes are have a representation of the pipeline through the tasks. So, in order to complete a scene has to go through multiple tasks, which are layout posing. In this case, in this particular case, it's a paperless pipeline. So the tasks are layout posing, key animation, cleanup in between, ink and paint, and compositing. So those tasks were created when the scene was created, and they were made up according to a blueprint. And the blueprint of those tasks is what we call the workflow or the pipeline. If I go in the project settings under pipelines, I've got a bunch of pipelines that are already made that we provide you. You can tell that they're provided by us because they have TBA slash job, TBA scene. So that means that they apply to what? So each pipeline applies to a particular type of item. For example, this particular pipeline, which the name of which is episodes. It could be anything. It's just a name. But what is interesting is that it applies to items that are jobs. So as we learned already, our architecture is made up of environment, job, and scene. So the episodes themselves would be jobs. So when I created this workflow, which takes an episode from script to storyboard to production to post-production, it's it applies to job. So when I create a new job, I have the option of applying it this pipeline. However, when I create scenes, I can choose between these pipelines because these are two pipelines, the 2D cutout scene and the 2D paperless scene, that apply to scenes. So these are my choices when I'm creating new scenes. They can follow either this pipeline or this one. But if I want them, for example, to follow a different pipeline, that's when I will create my own pipeline. And I will encourage you to do that because it's better to have your own. It will be independent from whatever we put in there. So if we upgrade those, you won't be affected by this. So the best way would be for you to add a new workflow, which we will cover in another video. And there will be also in the future version, probably it's available by the time you're watching this, but a button to right click and duplicate an existing workflow so that you'll be able to start your new one based on the templates that are in there. Now, for now, my point is more to describe what they are and what they do. And what's interesting is that I mentioned already that there are different workflows for different type of items. So for a job, you have this workflow. For scenes, you have those two. These are workflows that are for assets. As you can tell on the right, it says asset. So there are different type of assets. There are BGs, there are templates, and I named those workflows according to what they apply to. But I could have several. I could have different workflows for different BGs, different type of BGs. For example, one might be a bitmap BGs that you may want to edit in Photoshop, and another one may be a vector background that has a different workflow. So you would create your own in there. But the important thing is, as I mentioned, it's in another video, when you will actually create those, it will be very important to type to select for what type of item is this pipeline. If this pipeline is for an asset, you will select the asset, and if this pipeline is for a scene, you will select the scene. Another interesting one is the tasks. So the task, you can make a workflow that applies to tasks themselves. So let's have a look. What is that? So as you've seen, these pipeline in here, like the paperless pipeline for scenes, is represented also in here when you look at the scenes. But the task themselves, let's go inside the task of layout posing, for example, you've got different options. What is the status of those tasks? The status can be pending, in progress, need assistance, approved, complete. You've got a whole bunch of options. So those options come from a specific pipeline called a a task workflow. So if I select the task workflow, that's the one that we provide by default and that is used for any task that you create by default. You see it has pending, need assistance, in progress. Familiar? These are those that we just saw here. So any one of those tasks that are from the pipeline of the scenes is then includes this, refers to these task workflow for the possible statuses inside of those tasks. So this is this one here, and you could create your own as well. So that is going to be interesting because you will probably maybe want to do that. Like this is the default one, but we may want to create a simple one. So, but as I mentioned, this is the topic of another video. For now, it's important to understand that the basic task workflow defines what are the items, the possibilities that you have within the status here for each one of those tasks. Now, to understand this, the order in which things happen, the first thing is to create an actual workflow or use one that is existing. And then this workflow, when it's created, every one of those process or tasks can be edited in that I select it and then I have access to the content of this. So for the layout posing, I've got different options, like is it a manual task, an action, a condition, an approval, and so on. So all of those have different meaning. The typical one that we're using is manual. In fact, if I create a brand new one, let's say just click on plus, it creates a new node in there, and that's a manual node. Manual just means that in order for it to go from one stage to the next, it's a manual operation, and somebody will have to go and say, maybe the supervisor will say, now this is pending, and then, or this is approved, and the user, the artist, will go say it's in progress, meaning I'm working on it, or will select complete and say it's done, it's waiting for approval. So this is what manual means. These step has to be, somebody has to intervene to switch them to the next stage. And each of those tasks can be assigned to people. And the list of names that you have in there, who can we assign the layout? If you're a small studio, maybe you just want everybody to be available so you can assign it to whoever you like. But if you have like tons of people, maybe you would like only the people from the layout department to be listed in there, so that makes your life easier when it's time to choose from the layout posing. So it will have been important to have created a group according to the people that you want to see in there. So we did that in another video, how to create a group. And then when you're doing your pipeline, let me get rid of this. If I go in the pipeline under task setup, I will be able to say, oh, this task is the assigned login group should be, now I don't have a group for this, I just have a group admin. But if I had create a group for layout artist, I could select the layout artist group, and that means that the options to assign this task will be the members of the group layout. Other thing that is interesting is I can see the task status workflow. That is, by default, as I mentioned to you, the basic tasks, this one here is the one that is used. That means for layout posing, I will see all the options which were pending, need assistance, in progress, all of this that's in there. But if I wanted to have my own setup for this task, I could create a different task status workflow entry, and I would point to that pipeline in here. So this process takes just a little bit of time. It's very simple to add more, to reduce, and to make it fit exactly what you need. And it's very important to do this right. Well, you can change it afterwards, but like it's better to take a bit of time to just get it right, and then on a small set of element, make a trial, and then see how it goes, and then adjust it, and then use it wide. That's it. That's what I wanted to tell you about pipeline for now, because we have much more to know about them, how to create them, how to duplicate them, and so on. So we talk about this in the next video. Stay tuned.